Thank you, Victor Harwood, for having us back. And we also have some familiar faces from that panel as well back with us. And unfortunately, if you guys see in the program, we are missing one of our gals. Megan Tonjes, unfortunately, is stuck in Canada. She performed at Buffer Festival at Toronto and actually was asked to be on CBC Music, which is really great. But she is now coming back from Toronto today. So unfortunately, she couldn't be here, and we miss you, Megan. But we have 6 lovely ladies here with our discussion. So let's just jump on in. For those who don't know me, my name is Kylie Sparks. I started out as a child actor. I'll just give you guys some background on me before we jump in. I was a child actor. I starred in IFC Films' Pizza with Ethan Embry and Julie Haggerty when I was 16. And segued into TV, also went to school at USC, graduated. And 4 years ago, I was cast on a digital series called Squaresville, which won 4 IAW TV awards, was in Entertainment Weekly, and got me the opportunity to come to Digital Hollywood for the first time. I was on a panel last year. And when I was talking to Victor Harwood, when I was actually pitching my producing partner and good friend, Miss Tiffany Ariani over here, and I, for a different panel, I made the mention that there was a women's track, and this is such a prestigious and progressive conference for, Hollywood and bridging the traditional and digital gap, but there was no real young woman's focus. Like, there are so many amazingly talented women working in the industry right now who you might not know their names yet, but in the age of girls, in the age of Tumblr, in the age of, all of this wonderful female empowerment, I just found that there was that voice missing. So I asked Victor, I was like, why don't you guys do this? And he was like, okay. And I was like, oh, okay. Yes, I will gather my friends up and we will talk about this. And so I'm going to go on down the line and have everybody introduce themselves and kind of give a concise history of where they've been, what their background is, and where they are now. So we'll start with Miss Allie.
Hi, my name's Allie Stroker, and I'm an actress and a singer and a dancer. I began singing at the age of 11 and started working professionally when I was 13 in New York. I had the opportunity 3 years ago to be on the Glee Project, which is a reality-based TV show where you compete for a role on Glee, and I was the runner-up, and then had the opportunity to be on Glee, which then brought me out to LA. I am currently in a production of Spring Awakening with Deaf West, which is a company that works with deaf actors and hearing actors, and they bring the two worlds together to create magic, in my opinion. I have a spinal cord injury and have been in a wheelchair since I was 2 years old.
My name is Tiffany. I used to act. I don't really act anymore.
We're going to change that, though. You're coming back. Sorry. I'm sorry about that. We're making you come back.
I'm a retired actress. I mainly focus on my day job now. I study television production. I work for a show called Dish Nation on Fox. It's a celebrity news show. We're like right after TMZ, but we're not like TMZ. I'm their web producer and their red carpet correspondent. So I get to talk to celebs now every day. So it's fun. It's very fun. And I've worked with Kylie on several projects, one of them being LA Girls, which we produced. I wrote, she starred in, she played I
played Lena Dunham.
She played Lena Dunham.
I played Hannah, and she played Shoshana. She was the greatest version of Shoshana ever.
Thank you. So, and I think that's about it.
Oh yeah, and we were also in Variety in July, and we had no idea why that happened. Actually, like we were just as flabbergasted as everybody else.
LA Girls was that was, and we went to a few like web festivals, and we got a lot of press over it. So it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, Miss Catherine.
I'm Catherine Gallagher. I'm a singer and a songwriter. I'm from New York and have been writing songs and gigging since I was 13 and just released a record. And I'm also in Deaf West Spring Awakening with Miss Allie. That's me.
So fast.
I know. Yeah.
She's awesome. My name is Lauren Shacker. I'm a screenwriter and an actor. I started writing after having been an actor for some time. Most notably, I did a film for HBO called The Phil Spector it was the Phil Spector biopic called Phil Spector, and as well as The Canyons with Lindsay Lohan. And I currently have a film that's in development with Unified Pictures that I wrote, as well as a screenwriting podcast that I started a couple of months ago now with 2 other female screenwriters, simply because there was no really accessible medium in which women were discussing film. And so we did that kind of randomly, and it has somewhat blown up, which has been really exciting. So yeah, that's pretty cool. That's me.
Hi, I'm Shilpi Roy. I'm a writer, director, producer. A couple years ago, I did a web series called Hipsterhood, and it was me just being like, I want to make something, you know. But it turned out being very popular and successful. And my day job is I work at a company called Pop Sugar, which is the antithesis of hipsterhood. So I very much have like counterculture and popular culture in my head all the time.
My name is Julia Cho. I'm primarily an actor and somehow found my way into producing, mostly theater, actually. I have been fortunate enough to perform in theater, TV, and film. My bread and butter as of late has been co-star guest star roles on television, ranging from NCIS to Scandal and upcoming Netflix comedy called Grace and Frankie, starring
you're
Jane
going to be
Fonda.
on that? Oh, that's so cool. I'm looking forward to that show. So I'm really
I
excited
just got
see
to
you on that.
work one day with Jane Fonda and Lily Tomlin, which is surreal. In terms of theater, I am one of the co-founders of Artists at Play, which is an LA producing theater collective. And in our 4 years of existence, we've been focusing on LA premieres of Asian American published works. And I guess my main digital connection is I happen to be in a little web series called The Lizzie Bennet Diaries, which was a YouTube adaptation of Pride and Prejudice, the novel by Jane Austen. And that little show went on to win a Creative Arts Emmy.
Yeah.
Ended up being incredibly successful. But I also helped produce Hipsterhood with Ms. Shilpi Roy here.
Yeah. So, a bunch of slackers on this panel today, bunch of slackers. So, as you can see, we're, a big group of go-getters. We've been working since we were kids and we're kind of on that next level. We're on that trajectory for the next level. And today I really just kind of wanted to have that discussion of what it's like kind of being on the verge and, the struggles and the uphill battles. And there's been so much in the news of late, just being a woman in the entertainment industry. So I'm really excited to have these ladies here to talk about that. So, since we've kind of already gotten intros, why don't we just kind of hop into backgrounds and public perception? We have people here who had nothing to do with entertainment, like they just kind of fell into it. And then we also have people who have family members in the industry. And I just kind of want to see what everybody's experiences have been like in their prospective fields or their respective fields of how they got in and kind of your background and what your challenges were into breaking in. So whoever wants to start, you can.
So, my dad is an actor, and he has been working my whole life, which is nice. It's rare to be a working actor, and so I'm very fortunate for that. But I grew up in this industry, and I think that it gave me a pretty unique perspective. And I gotta say that I think a lot of times, I get a lot of, I'm very lucky to have a very supportive father, but there's certainly a preconceived notion of kids of actors and kind of this entitlement. And that I gotta say, out of all of the things that my dad has given me, the only thing I think that's really helped me is that this is not an easy industry. And there is never a day where you're not working. And every single day it's either a rejection or 1 out of 100, you might get the job, and it's never over. I think it was Mike Nichols who told him, nobody knows what they're talking about and there's nobody at the top. And I think that kind of is like the most important
Yeah.
thing that I know growing up in this industry has taught me is that you gotta work your ass off, and even then, it's never over. So for me, I don't know. I guess that's pretty much my history with it is growing up in it.
Yeah.
So this is unrelated to your question, Kylie.
Yeah.
However, on the way over here, Julia and I were just talking, and I'm just jumping in because it piggybacks on what you just said, which is that nobody does know what's going on, and no one understands. Like, there's no one person who actually understands this industry. So I think that's why this panel is cool.
Yeah.
Because I was speaking with a TV executive relatively recently who was expressing his horror in the digital era and how they're going to deal with that from the television perspective. Like, it is a new Wild West right now. And so that's exciting and terrifying. But it does mean that, like, if people are telling you that's not how the industry works, that's bullshit. I don't know if I can swear.
Well, we can.
We just found out.
We're just gonna make that rule because we're cool and stuff.
Well, I guess back to what Catherine was saying, on the total opposite end of that spectrum, I just wanted to be an actor, as simple as that, and just performing throughout high school and college, and then realizing you can make a career out of this, like that. The fact that was even a possibility. And then there was just a lot of trial and error, having no connections to anyone in this business, meeting shady people along the way, making mistakes, which we will get into
a lot
later
of
on.
shady people. Yeah.
And precisely because there is no set
I like how
path.
you point at me when you say shady people.
Not at all. But yeah, it's just you kind of learn as you go. And I think because it is a hustle, you work every day to make things happen for yourself and your career. I think at the end of the day, I'm very proud of where I am now, even if it's maybe not where I thought I would be, or maybe what other people think I should be. Where I am now is the sum of all the hard work that I've put in to my career, and all the mistakes that I've made. So I can safely say that I've earned every credit on my resume. I've earned all that experience that I have under my belt, and hopefully that'll only keep growing and developing in the years to come.
Yeah, I try to remind myself every day, it's the journey, it's not the destination. So whenever, it's like, oh, that person's doing this and I'm just doing this. I think that's something we all have to remind ourselves in this industry. As you said, there is no top. And so it's really just about, are you enjoying what you're doing currently? And do you have some kind of goal that you're working towards?
I would like to piggyback. So I began singing when I was 11, and it was a passion. It was an outlet. It was a new identity that I could take on instead of being a girl in a wheelchair. I could be an actress and a singer. And so it really helped me find myself. And then as a teenager, I realized that I loved the business side of it, that it was a business. And when I found myself on the Glee project, I realized how the whole digital side of this business can really change your career. And I found myself at the end of the show having like 34,000 people following me on Twitter. And because it's still new, I still don't really know what to do with that. But it means something. People are like, oh, that's great. You can get a book deal. You could, that really looks great for producers, this and that. And I guess for me, I'm in a place right now of trying to find my voice there as well, because it's not just being an actor anymore. It's not just going out on auditions. There's a whole other side of this business that is expected of you when you have that kind of following. And so I think that's interesting, and I'm curious to see where that will go in 10 years. What does 34,000 followers mean? And what can you do with that? What can you do with that kind of following? And I also think that, being an actor and wanting to perform is wonderful. And now there's this interesting pressure of like, well, are you writing any of your own stuff? Are you creating your own work? And it's almost expected. And so I I feel a little caught there as well, because I didn't get into this to be a writer, and nor do I really think that I am a writer necessarily. I love to act. I love to sing. So, that's a new thing that's been introduced to me is, okay, now go out and find writers, find producers that want to create content for you instead of just going out on auditions. So there's that side of it as well that I think is changed even since I was a teenager and auditioning.
Well, and I would definitely agree with you on that. And that actually kind of segues into our next point, is that now as an actor, like I have, like 2,600 followers on Twitter, not like incredible, but like that's actually become a factor now, is like, I can't get into a room unless I have X amount of Twitter followers. It's like, I've been working since I was a kid. Why is my social media like now becoming a big deal? And I think that's a good, thing to discuss, is how is social media like helping your career, hurting your career, and like how are you using social media? Because like, for example, Tiff, you work in social media.
I do, yeah.
And like, I would love to hear your perspective on that, since you're now behind the scenes on that.
Yeah, I mean, I graduated from college. I was acting. I wanted to focus on acting, and I wasn't really booking them out that could be something. I wasn't getting any production jobs. I'd studied TV production. I wasn't getting to where I wanted, and I was like, I need to do something. This is hell. So I wrote. We did this spoof. We did this web series, and it was fun. It was great. And then I was like, well, now what? And it really did open a lot of doors. It is why I have my job in web right now, because they're like, oh, this girl's kind of funny, and she can like write, and she has some sort of knowledge of web and online because she did this web series. So we'll put her into this. And working for a show on Fox and running their web, like being part of their web department and doing their web content and running their social media sites and being in all these meetings. I mean, I was on a marketing call last night, and it's all social media. I mean, that's why I'm part of the marketing calls. I don't have a marketing major, but I work in the web department. So, our Fox executives are sitting with the web department on how to grow the show. It all comes down to online, because everybody now is getting their information, whether it's celebrity news, whether it's videos, whether it's anything off the internet. Even the content on the show, a lot of it's viral clips. And I think the biggest thing that I've learned is how important it is for ratings, how important they look at Twitter for ratings. I have to be online when the show is airing to tweet with fans. I mean, it's insane how much comes back to the internet to promote our show, to get word out there. We're now booking Vine stars. It's insane. I mean, we're booking people we're not looking at celebrities. We're booking at who's popular on Vine that we want to get on the show. Because when we do get a Vine star, we get a ton of activity. So I think that everything's going back to web.
Mm-hmm. As a creator of content, I found social media to actually be really a great way to communicate directly with your fans. And I think that's not really something that's been available until now. So when I did Hipsterhood, I did season 1 on my own independently. And I just planned to do 1 season. I was like, this is just what I wanted to do. That's it. And what I found was on Twitter and Facebook and everywhere, these fans were having conversations about the show, and they were asking me directly, when is season 2? And I was like, well, there isn't a season 2, but maybe there should be. And so it was literally the fan base that persuaded me to make another season of the show. And again, it was like you get really direct contact with these people, and you can see their conversations between themselves, like on Twitter. Like, it's not even them actually talking to you. So it's this very interesting kind of monitoring of communication that we were never able to do before. And it, informs like how I proceed with the show or my career. You really get a good sense of like what they're actually interested in and who they are. And you just have so much more information now that you can use to make your content, better and more targeted towards an audience.
Yeah, it's really interesting how I would even say like 3 years ago when Squaresville was on, like Twitter was still kind of building up, and like, there weren't Twitter stars or Instagram famous people. And now it's like, it's Vine, it's Pinterest. I know people now getting deals because of their Pinterests, which is incredible. Like, if I understood Pinterest, I would totally be on board with that. And I totally don't. But like, On that note, talking about social media and how it's all, now it's all based on your numbers. Let's talk about branding a little bit. Catherine, you said something back in May that I actually have in my notes still from May that I pulled out, that the suits with the money are not our demographic. And I think that's a really important point to make, is that, we are women, we are making our own, we're trying to make our own way in the industry. But at the end of the day, we have to do what's best for us. Like, we have to create the things that we're passionate about, because there are people who have money who are, really focusing on our numbers and our outreach and everything, but that's not why we got into this business in the first place. So I want to pose this question to you guys. How do we remain ourselves, but at the same time create a brand that people are buying, when really all we want is just to do good work and have, eyeballs put on it? And for those of you guys behind the camera, like Shilpi, Julia, Lauren, you will be, and Tiff, and God, I think everybody at this point is behind the camera. How has branding really shaped your development of stuff? Like, how do you go about finding your audience, but also wanting to make the work that you are proud of to put your name on?
I always think of Taylor Swift, because she'd been, writing and singing since started, when she was 13 or something. And she released her first record when she was 16 as a, unknown country singer. And if you had asked any pop label and showed 16-year-old Taylor Swift, and you said, hey, this is going to be the biggest pop star in the world in 4 years, no one would believe you. No one would put money on her. She's a country singer who sings love songs. There was no market for her, according to the numbers, according to everything. But what she did, which was brilliant, is she did what she knew, and she said what she knew. She told the stories. She talked about her experiences, which, when you're 16 years old and 18 and 20, you feel heartbreak like it is the heaviest weight that has ever been put on you, and like that is your world. And she talked about what she knew, which turns out to be what most 16-year-old girls know, and most anybody knows, and that's what worked for her. And the brilliant thing that she did is she kept doing it, and she stayed true to what, her genres changed. She's making a pop record, whatever, but she talked about what she knew. And I think that that's kind of the hardest thing, because everybody tells you, oh, Ariana Grande is really big right now. So Allie and I were talking about this at lunch. Everybody's looking for the next whoever is big right now, but you can't be who's big right now.
Yeah, there are like 4 models of success, and everybody in music and in the talent, the acting world is looking for like the this, the this, the this, and the this. And if you don't fit one of those categories, then they're really not interested in you, because you don't bring anything that they already know has monetary value to the table.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
But I mean, then again, where do our greatest, and I'm not going to say it, that's not fair. Many of our greatest artists come from an untapped territory, right? So the cool thing about branding was one of those words that I loathed when I first moved to LA.
We all do.
Especially, I mean, like, I don't know what it's like to be a musician, because I'm not one, but as an actor, the first thing that people ask you when you walk in a room is what your brand is. And it was just like, are you kidding me? I just figured out who I am. I definitely don't know what branding is. And then, but the great thing about it now is that your brand really can be just who you are. And that is marketable because people can find things in common with you if you are really just being you, which is also the cool aspect of Twitter and building a Twitter following, is that if you can tap into what it is that makes you you, like that thing that you're super passionate about, or that weird personality trait that you have, or your awesome sense of comedic timing, like that is what people tap into, and that is how they find you and keep coming back to you. And so it's not about fitting yourself to one of these weird Hollywood paradigms. it really is just about making your brand you. That's it.
Also, to sustain a brand, you have to like it too. Like, if you're not into your brand, most likely you're not going to be able to sustain that. And then people are like, oh, you're changing so much. I don't get it. You know, but, and we as human beings are going to do that. But I think that, you know, really getting excited about what it is that, what message that you're putting out there is so important. And again, you know, what Lauren was saying, like, being an original is riskier, however, is gonna probably give you more success and you're gonna be more fulfilled. Because I think I was thinking about this earlier. There are so many women in this industry, and if you look at the history, there aren't as many slots. But I feel like if you're going about it in an authentic way, the payoff is so huge. And I've had to always fall back onto that because I look around and there isn't anyone in the industry in a wheelchair who I'm like, yes, it's been done. I'm going to do that. So like constantly trying to figure out, okay, well, if I look this way and I'm in a wheelchair, will that be marketable? Will that sell? And the only thing that has really worked, and people always tell me, it's like, just be authentic. Be you. Tell your story. It is interesting enough. And I've struggled with that my entire life, of being enough. But I think that other women admire when someone is able to sit back and actually be real instead of having to put on a show.
Absolutely. Anything else? I would love to hear like the behind the scenes stuff too. Like,
Yeah. I actually was asked yesterday, so Shilpi, what's your brand? And I was like, oh God.
No one likes this
You know,
question.
like, it's funny, nice. I hadn't come up with my answer yet. But in terms of the content, there's kind of two types of branding, right? There's like the branding of yourself, and whether you're in front or behind the camera, now everybody needs a brand, and that's just kind of the sad truth, I guess. Nobody wants to define themselves so tightly. So I think, you know, like Allie's saying, as long as you can be just really true to kind of what you like and who you are, just use that as your brand. And you just, you know, you're like, this is me, this is me, this is me. Okay. And because of the internet, you will find people who like that, right? Like now you can find your audience. And the other type of branding is when you do have content, you can brand the content. So for instance, when I made Hipsterhood, I was not thinking of making a brand. I just wanted to make content, but Hipsterhood became a brand. And now I had a brand that I can turn into many different things. And so that was very interesting. And then, you know, when you start creating content, there's a branded content, right? So for instance, if I'm coming up with a show, you know, I can think about what kind of brands do you want to integrate into it, because you need their money to get it made. And actually, like, I find the process to be pretty easy in that sense, as long as it happens at the front. Because we all hear the horror stories of branding content, you know, like, oh yeah, you know, Tide loves your show, but you have to cut out all of these things because it's already been made or it's already been written. And that's horrible. Like, those are the horrible situations that you never want to be in. So if you are thinking of branding yourself or your content or your new show or whatever, you need to bring whatever brand you want to bring in. You need to bring it in early during development. Make sure that you're okay with that brand, you know, like, don't let somebody in that you actually don't like whatever it is that they make or stand for. But then it actually becomes a very kind of symbiotic, proactive relationship where, like, if you're okay with what they're doing and you like them and they like you and what you're doing, it's, you know, two heads are better than one, and it can actually be a great thing.
yeah, I definitely agree with that. And kind of going off of what you said, Shilpi, and kind of also the idea of working together and being authentic and everything. There's the discussion, and Tiffany, Catherine, and Lauren, you guys will remember this. We had the discussion last time of the idea of women helping women, and how we're being told that women need to help each other and you know, lift a leg up in the industry. But for some reason, it just never happens because we're pit against each other, and there's all this competition, and so we're being told that we have to work harder than ever, yet there's still like some ridiculously low number. Like it's like 17% of all directors are female or something like that, something ridiculous. And, you know, what do we need to do to kind of break that barrier in that idea of, you know, you guys have to work as hard as you can, but at the same time, it's such a boys club and people are, you know, very hesitant about helping each other because there's some sort of agenda or something. What are your guys' thoughts on kind of breaking that cycle?
I think the biggest thing I learned is that you want to make yourself valuable in whatever aspect you're in. And what I learned very quickly is I can't just do one thing. I can't just be an actress anymore. And not that I want to be. I mean, why would you? There's so much that you can do. So it's producing, writing, I can edit. I'm a red carpet correspondent now. And it's putting yourself in the position where people can't say no to you. Because if they're like, okay, well, I don't want you doing this. It's like, well, I can do this, this, and this for you. And I think that's something that's really helped me and opened a lot of doors for me. It's just giving yourself a lot of avenues. And whether it's sitting up late at night, I taught myself how to use Final Cut Pro, and being afraid of writing and just doing it anyways, and going out and doing whatever you can to learn these things, because it's so competitive. It's such a competitive market. The market is so saturated, not with just people, but with products and things. Everyone's making stuff now. Everyone has a camera and an iPhone and they're putting stuff on the internet. So I think the biggest thing you can do is add value to yourself and to your work, where people are like, okay, well, this person is somewhat of a threat.
I was just at a theater conference not too long ago, and actually, I'm proud to say that in Artists at Play, 3 of the 4 founding members are female, and I think that just gives us, not to say that it's better, it kind of is, but I think it just makes things that maybe an all-male collective would easily dismiss or not even think of, you know, and it's not to discredit them as theater makers or producers, but the fact that, you know, we had 2 plays in a row written by male playwrights. And just to say, you know what, we should change this up and make sure we have a female playwright next year, which we did along with the female director. So I think just trusting our own instincts as women, as people, as human beings. But one of my producing partners who was on a panel for female producers said this really great thing. There is no such thing as competition. There is space for everyone. And it's up to me to find what space is available and how can I fill that space. And I love that idea. And as we said earlier, if there is no, set path, there is no shared goal. I mean, I think all of us on this panel, just, these women here all have different goals and objectives and dreams and, ideals. So we're not all reaching for the same thing necessarily. So it's not a race. It's not a competition. We're all kind of forging our own respective paths. So I think that's just a great thing to keep in mind, that there is no such thing. There is space for all of us.
Yeah, I agree with that, because that was one of the things that, like, when I first got into the business, I did not look like this. Like, I was a lot heavier. I had blonde hair, yet I was respected and booked jobs because of who I was. And then when I changed kind of how I looked, I still did not find that, that competitive aspect. So it was one of those that later on, I would say in the past couple of years, that idea of competition had been kind of put in. And so I like the idea where it's like, there's no, like, everybody has a spot here. Like, it just is a matter of what you want to do, how you want to do it, and what your trajectory is. So with that in mind,
Kylie, I just want to add on to that before you move on. In terms of women helping women specifically, I do think that, I personally think that it's sort of up to everyone to notice that there are embarrassing numbers of women in the industry. It's kind of humiliating. It's like 8% of women 8% of directors of film last year were women, and I think it's 17% were women in television.
Okay, that's where the number was.
That's like the population balance, right?
Oh yeah. There's only 8% of women in the world, right?
Yeah, obviously.
So, in addition, I know that the argument is similar in politics, but like, if you think about the fact that the world is consuming more media than ever before, and that media is coming from here. And we only have like 17% of that featuring women in any capacity, writing, directing, producing, acting. The roles for women are still, you know, abysmal. And every once in a while, there's a Viola Davis who's on, you know, How to Get Away with Murder now, which you should all watch, and a Shonda Rhimes every once in a while. But like, it is depressing. And I can't tell you how many times I hear within the screenwriting community, which is very tight and wonderful. And if you're a writer, you should be on Twitter, because I can't even tell you who I know now because I'm on Twitter, and I'm not going to name drop. That's not the point. The point is it's a beautiful community. So get on Twitter.
Well, the fun sorry.
Oh no, I'm just really fast.
Go for it.
I do think we have to make an effort to hire women. Like even women, we have to make that effort. When we are casting, when we are hiring crew, when we are doing whatever, because let me tell you, like the lists that go around to hire, of who to hire, those lists are already made. And those lists don't have women on them. And that's just how it is. And so a lot of times you have to really step outside your circle to be like, I am going to hire at least 3 women on this shoot, even though no one I know knows them. They are out there. And it's not an excuse to not know them. At the same time, and there was a great piece by Lexi Alexander, who's a director and a writer that I hold dear to me and who is fantastic, who directed Green Street Hooligans. But she wrote a piece on how we don't get to look at the women who have made it and who are sort of above where we are and say, well, it's your fault that you're not bringing us up. It's not their responsibility. However, we should make as much of an effort as we can.
Yeah, that we referenced that article.
Yeah,
because
it's
a great article, and honestly, go on Lexi Alexander's site. And you had a question, yeah.
You all talk about how important it is, branding. Is there any examples of branding of successful women you could give, including yourselves? I would love to hear from each one of you. How do you define yourself in terms of branding?
I think one kind of funny thing, just in terms of branding, is that for successful women, like Shonda Rhimes, for example, would be a woman who's this successful as like part of her brand, which is kind of like a heartbreaking thing.
It is.
Yeah.
That's her brand.
It's like a woman who is successful. Is
Yeah.
She's a queen.
She is, and she's incredibly talented. But anyway, that was just a thought.
No, I
had
think
nothing
that's
else
a great
to say.
thought. No, and actually, that also, this will segue into this. We also have been talking a lot about women helping women and how there are such low numbers in the industry because it's a boys' club. And like how branding now, it's like a woman who is successful at this. Why can't it just be a person who is successful at this?
Mm-hmm.
And so why don't we talk about misogyny and sex shaming and all that deep, cool stuff that we're going to get into right now? Because, if you guys have been looking at the news, it's right and left nowadays with the celebrity photo hack and Gamergate and, all these things where it's, people are threatened by women in the industry for being women. And I think this is an issue that we need to talk about just, going forward, especially in the age of the internet where you're getting trolled and hate mail and comments and threats every day. So
I guess partly also to address the whole women helping women. I feel like that should be it should be a given.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You would hope.
Yeah.
And I think there are definitely strides we can still make in that regard. But I also think that why can't men and women be aware of the gender inequality and all help each other? Emma Watson's UN speech, the whole he for she movement is gaining some traction, which I think is great, but also a little disheartening because it's 2014. And the fact that men are still scared to call themselves feminists because they don't understand that
women are scared. So
even women are
it's still a
scared to
dirty
call
word,
themselves-
and
it's still a dirty word.
ridiculous.
And the fact that it really means that feminist means a person who believes in equality between the genders. That's really all it is. So at least there's progress being made on that
Yeah.
end. But, it's why can't men and women and everyone in between just, be more educated if they are ignorant, and let's always be sure to give them the benefit of the doubt that they just don't know.
Yeah.
They're not aware. And once they are, that we should all make collective efforts to hire more women, to hire more minorities. I love that when Shonda Rhimes always gets asked the question about diversity. How do you cast so diversely? How do you pull off diversity so successfully? Her go-to response is always, don't ask me, ask all the white guys who are not casting diversity. I don't have a problem. Clearly, it's everyone else that is not getting it or not doing it. So I feel like it's great to have this panel of women, but I think it's important to just educate everyone and be like, there are still huge, embarrassing numbers, huge discrepancies that I think we can all work on improving.
Exactly.
And just to answer your question specifically, for me personally, I was terrified of expressing my opinion in public. Obviously, I'm not anymore.
What? Really? Wow. I'm
Anyways,
impressed.
it was 1 week, something horrible happened to women, and I was like, F this, and was very vocal on Twitter, and everything exploded. And I started getting meetings, and people were like, honestly, people got interested in me because I was extremely vocal about feminism. And that, to me, I think I had been waiting for permission to be vocal about injustices, which is crazy. And to think that I do believe that our industry is so powerful in that respect and can actually promote change because of our position in the world. And so I just started being really vocal about that. And that is how I personally benefited the most, which is great because I'll talk about it anyway.
Yeah.
Can we talk about Gamergate for a second?
Please. I would love
here's
it.
the thing. I only found out about it 2 days ago when I saw some article that said this female game developer had been run out of her house because of death threats. And I'm like, what? And I'm not a video game person at all, right? And I read the article and it says it's this female video game developer who, through just a series of events, has gotten so many death threats from men anonymously on the internet that she did not feel safe in her own home. And she had to leave. And that was
her home address was also posted.
Yeah, her home
And
address
this
was
happened to a
posted.
couple of people
And
too.
it's more than one person. And this just blew my mind because I cannot imagine being we are people in the digital realm. If I found out somebody had, published my address on the internet and people were very angry at me, I would be so scared. And I just don't understand why it's happening. But more importantly, okay, I understand why it's happening because there are some idiots out there. But what I don't get is nobody seems to be doing anything about it. We're all talking about it. I mean, that's good. But no, I would think that there would be a huge uprising of women or somebody being no, that's not cool. We are going to, make sure that this stops.
Yeah, well, and what I also found really disheartening was that Anita Sarkeesian, who is the center of it, she has Feminist Frequency, which is a video series based on, it's called Tropes versus Women, is her main series, and it's about how women and minorities are depicted in video games, and all she wants is to create media literacy about how women and minorities are treated in video games, in pop culture, because she herself is a huge gamer and she loves this material. She wouldn't be doing it if she didn't feel like she was progressing, and she was, if she wasn't passionate about it. And she was supposed to speak at Utah State. She had to cancel because somebody sent a very credible letter to Utah State saying they were going to do the worst mass school shooting in the history of America. And Utah State Police would not do anything about it because they were like, oh, it's a concealed carry state. We're not going to do pat downs or metal detectors or anything. So she had to cancel her talk. And I found that absolutely asinine, that it's women can't even do the work that they're passionate about because the threat of people losing their lives over it.
There was also backlash for her canceling that she was giving into them. I'm like, all right,
Yeah, it's like,
you go
okay.
stand in front of a bunch of people where you know a shooter has threatened.
Yeah, exactly.
But at least we have fantastic gun control in this
yeah,
country.
you know, that's a great thing that we have gun control. But it's just, and also it's one of those that, like, I think one of the greatest things about at least the discussion of that Gamergate is happening is that Anita Sarkeesian, who I like, if I ever meet her, I'm just gonna be like, I love you. She's not backing down. She's like, honestly, this is the work I am passionate about. I have to do this work. I would not be doing this if, like, she even said in Rolling Stone that, like, it's so disheartening for her, but if she didn't feel like she was doing something important, she would have quit a long time ago. And same for Brianna Wu, who was the other video game developer who had her address published on Twitter, and people were like threatening her, and she was driven from her home. And she was like, if I didn't care so much about the video game industry and making video games accessible for everybody, I wouldn't be doing this. So, I have to agree with you, Shilpi. It is kind of interesting that more people aren't being, I'll say, proactive about doing something about it instead of just talking about it. Why aren't we doing more? So I definitely feel you on that. Oh, question, yes.
I would say that in reference to Gamergate, that the best way to affect change is to go after the money. Intel pulled their ads from 4chan and 8chan.
Nice.
Audi pulled their ads because of Twitter campaigns that were specifically targeted around Brianna Wu and Anita Sarkeesian. So that's the best way. There's a huge Twitter campaign going on right now to get IGN to support, get IGN to address the issues. So, like with most things on the internet or with any financially based community, go after the sponsors.
Yeah.
Thank you for mentioning that, because I think a lot of times Twitter, social media, this whole younger generation is often dismissed for just tweeting about things and not really taking action.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's a great actionable item that was executed through social media. So thank you
because
for
the only
bringing
way
that
to
up.
make change is to create awareness.
Yeah.
People are just unaware of what's going on, or they just don't take the time. So it's really, I think, becoming creative about how you're going to get your message out there, because people want, that's the thing. I really do believe in humanity. I believe that people want to make things better, that people want to make change. Yes, there are going to be people that are afraid, which is why they don't. But really, I think that we have this opportunity with Twitter, with social media, to get the message out there. So how can we creatively do it? Because tweeting, I think, is awesome, but it's not enough anymore. So, like, where do you take it, bump it to the next place to make these videos that then go viral, then people are talking about, and then the conversations come up within groups of friends at dinner tables, and then things start to shift. So, I mean, as this community, this industry has so much power, I think more power than our government. So I just ask, how can we get creative? How can we say it differently? Because women's rights have been around for a long time. So how do we do it now with this generation?
Yeah, I think that's really important, because it's also one of those. That's why and I think that's absolutely important too, because not just tweeting, but also Tumblr is a huge place for advocacy and awareness and everything. And now Tumblr is being used as more of a platform for people, which I think is awesome. I love Tumblr. Like, I think it's the bee's knees. And yeah, but it's awesome. I become a 15-year-old girl when I'm on Tumblr. So finally, kind of going off of Gamergate and all of this stuff, where do we go from here? Allie, you brought up a great point of, like, how do we get creative to not only promote change, but also, promote ourselves, create good work? And it's like, when we have all of these things going against us, how do we make it turn for us going forward from here? Because, I mean, you can sense the change in the air right now. Like, you can feel it. And so I would love to hear your guys' before we open into questions, because we have about 19 minutes left. So any closing wrap-up thoughts before we open to the floor?
Not backing down, like keep doing what you're doing because, it can be very frightening when you're putting yourself out there and you receive more attention some days than other days, and or you think something's working and then it's not working. But like being aware of what's working, and when you notice that your effect is smaller, what can you do? Like Ali said, to further your message, but also not backing down. I mean, what's so great about Anita is that she's still pushing forward, right? If she were to stop what she's doing, we would all be worse off. Yes, we would. So
I think women in general, we have to be louder. We're not loud enough. And, traditionally women are submissive, or we take a step back, or we don't like to make a big fuss. And we let the men be in front, and they only hear themselves. And we need to make them hear us. And like the gentleman said, there's many different ways to do that, right? We do have to follow the money. That's very important. And, the Divergent, the Hunger Games, all this like YA teen content that's all female driven. That's a great place to start from. And, where we start to see media that's more women centered, by women, for women, but we have to be loud. Like we can't just sit back and let, the whoever is more passionate about their own, like not very good self-interest, we can't let them be in the front seat anymore.
Yeah, I noticed in film school that a lot of the girls in my class wouldn't want to be the producer or director position because they were like hesitant. And it's like, no, F that. Like go for the positions and put yourself in a position where you can have a say and where you can have a voice. And don't be scared if someone calls you a bitch or if some guy is like intimidated by you. It's fine. Like it's going to be like that. But you know what? Just tough through. I mean, I don't know how many times there was guys in my group that were like, oh shit, but they listened to me. Like, it's like we have to do that. We have to put ourselves in a position and not be afraid, because no one's going to hand it to us. No one's going to sit there and go up to you and be like, here, have all of this. No, you have to go for it. We have to support each other and really respect each other too, and realize that we're all kind of hustling for it.
Yeah. One of the greatest things that I was taught was that you can continue to do the work, and you will continue to work. But when you come home, what is it that you fall back on? And what I think is so important is becoming clear about your mission. And this summer, I took this course and we learned how to create mission statements for ourselves, for our own lives. And that is, mission statement is vision plus action. So what's your vision for the industry, for the world, for your life? What action can I do? What action can I put into my life every day? And that equals mission. So when people continue to tell you no, when someone gets in your face because they're annoyed at you and they're upset about something, what do you fall back on? Because I don't always think that the industry is reliable enough to put all your eggs into. So just becoming clear about your own mission.
I think mission statement, also known as artist statement, is something I've heard. I think that's inextricably linked to branding. I've never been asked what my personal brand is, so I'm a little thrown by that. I wouldn't even know what to say, but I think that's what your personal brand and who you are not mutually exclusive, especially now in this digital age where consumers, your audience, will see right through you if you're trying to put on a facade. And I think that's why a lot of these bigger players, these major companies and corporations, falter or fail when it comes to social media, because they think, here's a template, this has worked, let's just do that. And that's the thing. People see right through it and they're like, this, I can see exactly what you're trying to do and I'm not going to buy into it. So I think staying true to yourself, staying true to that artist statement, that mission statement, it will help you develop whatever that personal brand of yours is. And I think, we all have to be louder, and also not assume that the other party knows everything that you do.
Yes.
Because I mean, that's the thing. It's a trip to us, I'm sure, to that there are people out there who don't see or get that there's gender inequity in so many fields. So in a way, not being afraid to take positions of leadership or authority, or just being able to share information whenever necessary. So finding courage in doing that. And I also love what Tiffany said earlier about showing that you are valuable, proving your own value. You know, I've been on sets where I know I'm getting treated a certain way, either because of my gender or my race or my age. And instead of letting that get me down, I want to prove them wrong by the end of the day, with respect, with professionalism, with just the sheer force of my determination and my talent, and let them know I belong here, and I'm here to do a job, and I'm going to do it well, and you can't do anything about that.
Catherine, did you have anything you wanted to add to?
I guess it might be the hardest thing in the world to do, but probably the most important, and that's to trust yourself. I know for me, every time I open my mouth, my first thought is, it's not really worth saying though, because someone else there would probably think I was like really stupid. And that's a really terrible way to think. Because no one else does think the way that you do, and no one else does feel the things that you feel, and no one else has had the same experiences. But it's hard to trust yourself. And as women, we don't get a lot of reinforcement always that our thoughts are as valuable as they are. And we should. And if no one else is going to believe in yourself, you have to.
Very well said.
Yay, that's
Snaps.
awesome. Yes, snaps. All right, we have about 12 minutes, so I'm going to open the floor up to questions. You have one right in the front.
Hi. For those of you who have been creating your own content, web series specifically, my question is, how did you get your funding for your first project, and like what were your budgets, and what did you do with it once you were done? Did you just put it on the web, or did you have more of a strategy? And also, did you specifically reach out to women as far as like looking for drafters or other people on your team? So, large questions.
You go web series.
I will go first. So when I created Hipsterhood, the first season was self-financed. My husband is a cinematographer, and I knew that we could do it very, very cheaply because we had equipment, and we both went to film school, so I could do everything myself, basically. So I believe I made season 1 for under $1,000. I got very lucky because, no, I'm not going to say that, because I actually did a lot of work. I did so much work. I've never done as much work for anything else in my life as I did for that show. And most of it came for marketing and PR, because I didn't know anything about that. But I realized, I was like, I worked so hard on making it, I can't just put it out there and let it die. So I figured out how to market it in PR, and I got very lucky, and it did really well in that space. And then I actually had a company approach me about doing season 2. But that was after I spent about a good 3 months literally cold calling companies, trying to get a branded sponsor on board. And I think when you're at a smaller level, it's just not going to happen. Like you either have to really know somebody on the inside, or it's just like lightning striking. So, I mean, when you're first starting out, you really just have to do everything yourself, and you can't let any one thing stop you. So if you don't have enough money, now you can Kickstart, you can Indiegogo, you can do whatever, you can find money. Or you pare back what it was you were going to do so that it's cheaper, so that you can do it. And then you literally just have to keep pushing, and you can never give up. And it's exhausting. It's a lot of work. The social media becomes extremely important once you have your content out there. But with social media, you can really like double, triple everything, your views, your content, and you find out what people want, right? And then you can do that. And then it's easier to get money, and it's easier to get views, and it's easier to get an audience and build your brand.
Yeah, I would agree with that. With Tiffany and I, when we did LA Girls, like we had $0 for marketing. And so it was literally just cold calling people that we knew from Squaresville, the show that we both were on, and kind of spinning the angle of like, we also got fortunate because Tiffany, how much that was self-funded.
Yeah, my boyfriend who wrote it with me and EP'd with me and directed it, we funded it together. We split the cost, and I pulled in so many favors. Like I still owe people something. I don't know what, but like all my film school, everyone that I'd worked with, the actors were actors that we had worked with. That I was like, hey, can you come for a few hours on a Saturday and be in this? And they're like, okay. And I think it's just, you have that one that you can kind of pull out of favors for, and I did that.
Yeah.
And getting a really good support system around you. Everyone, like Kylie is someone that I adore. Like it was my boyfriend, like surrounding yourself with people that you trust. My mom was an incredible, who's like sitting right there, who's like probably falling asleep. My mom helped me so much. I mean, she was like a producer with me. Like I could not have done it without her. And getting a really good team around you that you trust, that they know the position you're in. They know that you're funding this yourself. And people that you like, because you're gonna work really hard. We edited it, we did everything. I color corrected it. Oh my God, I was like totally knee deep in just everything. And just being like this, it's gonna be a lot of work, but it's worth it. And make it fun. We laughed so much.
I mean,
I had to cut around laughing because we had so much fun.
And there were days where we only had like 8-hour shoots and we got everything done. So we would have like production meetings on Matt's couch, like drinking beer, being like, so what should we do tomorrow?
Make it
guys?
fun. That's the biggest thing. Yeah. Because, everyone's working for free and nobody wants to. And it's like during the summer and it's hot, like just have fun with it. Enjoy it. It's a web series. Like, I've been on shoots where it's like people are like really serious, like have fun.
Yeah.
And it'll turn out great.
Yeah. Any other questions? We have about 7 minutes. Yes.
Oh, I just want to say, I think it's really marvelous that you're the first multicultural, diverse panel that I've seen today.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. Can I just tell you that is the best compliment we could ever get, because I really wanted that. So
wow. Thank you for mentioning that. And I hope that the diversity will be better next time around too. Because I mean, as great as this is, I think we can do better.
Oh yeah. I wanted at least a couple more people, just because honestly, I think it's really important to have all perspectives and representation. That's a big thing for me is having representation. I wish we could have a little bit more representation, but that was kind of what I really wanted this time around, because all these women are fabulous. So yes, you.
I have to say thank you very much. Nothing makes you more aware of gender equality issues than having a teenage daughter in LA.
Yeah.
But this is also sort of echoing. This is the first panel that I've been to that is focused on community versus monetization, which is really refreshing. I'm hearing how to build a community and how to help each other instead of how to make money. Right? Money's important too.
Well, yeah.
But as
yes.
My daughter's starting to want to do YouTube videos.
Good luck. Good luck. Enjoy that.
I'm just curious, for someone starting, for a young woman starting in the industry, starting to fall down this path, what's a single piece of advice you would give her moving forward?
God, I wish Tonjas was here right now.
I know. But
go ahead. No,
Kylie.
you go, Laura.
I was just gonna say, like, you're going to be really helpful and she's going to need your support because people are going to want to change her immediately. Yeah. Don't let her do that. And like, she needs to just be her and stick to that and do what she wants to do and not do what she's not comfortable doing, because there are a lot of rumors that go around that you need to do this and you need to do that and you don't. So
and listen to her and be very supportive. Like I'm sure we can all talk about our parents and everything and being supportive and stuff. And honestly, what she wants to do, just be with her 100%. And when she needs protection, be there for her. But when she just wants to do her own thing, just stand by and support her.
Go ahead. Sorry. You know this better than me.
I would recommend that she doesn't read comments.
That's what I was going to say.
Because it is a war zone.
It's nasty.
It's awful.
And all of a sudden, her enthusiasm and her excitement, which is why she's doing this, right? Kids follow their excitement. And so that's why she wants to get into it. And so quickly now, one comment, into LVO, just can like zap all of it away. So even if you come up with something of like, okay, you're gonna get a lot of comments, how about I filter through them and then you hand her all the positive ones?
Ooh, that's a good idea.
So that, and it's like a thing you guys do Sunday nights, because the thing is, so easily it becomes what other people want and what other people think, instead of her own excitement and creative ideas around these videos.
I would say you have to realize that she will most likely fail at first, or she has to realize that. And it doesn't mean she should stop. She can keep going. She should learn from her mistakes or what worked and what didn't work and continue. I mean, none of us were, I don't think anybody on this panel was immediately extremely successful with whatever the first thing we did was. Yeah. You know, we all failed, but we all learned so much from that experience that we were able to channel it into something else where we were successful.
Even television pilots, the pilot is usually awful.
Yeah.
You know, think about it like, yeah. And that's highly produced, millions of dollars. Gets better.
And
sorry.
No,
You go ahead.
I think the most terrified my father has ever been in his entire life was when I was 13 and I brought in like a casting notice that I found on the internet. And I was like, Dad, they wrote this for me. I know it. And I was like, you gotta I gotta get in the room. And he's like, no, you're a kid. Be a kid. And so I replied with a song I wrote telling him I was okay, and also telling him I'm gonna do this kind of with or without you. And he realized that. And without his support, even when it was awful, and even when you don't get the part, and when someone says just the worst soul-crushing thing to you, because it will happen more times than you hear positive feedback, because the bad news is so much louder than the good news. And I think it's shitty, and there's no sugarcoating it. This is a really hard thing to do, but it can also be the most amazing. And so give her a hug. Yes. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's hard, but it's so worth it. And you know, you be there and she'll do it. You know?
Yeah.
There's a lot of negativity. And like my mom was like, look, people are not going to like you. Everyone's going to be a fan, and that's okay. It's okay. It's okay to have haters, because I mean, at least you're doing something, right? At least people are paying attention. So I think spinning it in any way, because there's going to be that. It's just not going to go away. So you can't really ignore it. Just embrace it.
We have time for one more question. It's going to be right there.
Your PR strategy when you made your own web series, what was it? How did you spread the word that landed you on Variety, that landed you the second season?
Do you mind if I go first on that, Shelby? Because we had a very unique angle with ours, because on Squaresville, we were cast as mortal enemies and we became great friends. And so we were like, you know what, let's make a project together. We'll talk to all of the publications that know Squaresville, that have covered it, and being like, look, Tiffany and I have done our own thing. It's not Squaresville related, but we did a project on the side while we're promoting Squaresville, and we wanted to give you guys the first look in, you know, in exchange for an article or something. And we literally just reached out to 4 publications, and then it just snowballed like months after we were done releasing. We only did 5 episodes in a blooper reel, but like 3 months after, it landed in Hello Giggles with Tina Fey. And then it landed in IndieWire as like a girls spoof kind of compilation. And then like a year later, a year later, I was on vacation in Oklahoma, did not know for a month and a half, when like my mom casually emailed me being like, did you guys know you were in Variety next to like Spoils Babylon and Hot Wives of Orlando? We were like, what? Okay. But like that was a year later. So honestly, if you start the ball rolling, the great thing about content on the internet is that it's always there. So somebody's gonna, you know, maybe in the middle of cat videos. It's on there like, you know, you should watch this on the side because of like one tag. And that's, you know, honestly, that's kind of the best PR strategy is once you've had the ball rolling, even if you don't have the most amazing views, if you have a little bit of press, it goes a long way. But I would love to hear Shilpi.
Yeah, that was when I started Hipsterhood. My goal, I didn't even care about the views. I wanted 3 press articles. That was my goal. I was like, it can be the most horrible show I ever made, but if I can get 3 people, and they could be anybody. They could be like the guy in like Idaho who's got a blog about web series, which there is a guy in Idaho who has a blog about web series.
There is indeed.
And he wrote about Hipsterhood. So what I did was I scoured the internet for about a couple of weeks, and I found every single website, blog, news publication, random person who I thought would be interested in either me or the content specifically. And then when I had some materials to show them, either pictures or a trailer or whatever, I found their contact information, which is very difficult. That's what took 2 weeks. And then I sent them like a little like blurb saying, hey, I think you might be interested in this. Your readers might be interested in this. Here's the content. I'd love for you to write a piece. Let me know. And I think about maybe 3% of those people got back to me. And again, I am like a nobody. Like I had nothing to my name, so why would they care? So I reached out to a lot of people. But those 3% did do something, and they put it online. And then other people saw that, and then they wrote something. And so it really does snowball, just like you were saying. You can't give up on your search for press. And I think it's very, very important that you get some kind of press, because as long as one person sees it and thinks it's important enough to write about, other people will think it's important enough to write about.
Yeah. and honestly, also knowing your demographic, like for example, with LA Girls, we knew if we hit the teen kind of like Hypable and Comedy TV is Dead, and like, and also like the bigger ones like Tube Filter, New Media Rockstars too, but that was because we knew people over there because of Squaresville. But like we hit Hypable and they didn't even cover it in the web series portal. They covered it in the girls portal, which was great and got us more views. But it was just like, you have to know who you're catering to when you're doing press, especially like if you know your content is more for teen girls or teen boys or, you know, older demographics. So that's kind of also another thing as well. But I think we have to be done now. So thank you guys for coming. Yay.